All right, let's do it. The big guys had a couple drinks preparing for a long weekend. Already sending out drunken tweets. Never good when you're sending out drunken tweets. All right, I've got takes. At first I was like, man, I don't see any cash plays. But the more I've kind of dove into this slate, the more I've found. And, honestly, there's so many good choices at cash. It's almost hard, right? I thought it went from being like, this is going to be too hard because there's no cash plays to now I have so many different cash plays at different ranges. It's really going to come down to making the right combination that you like. Matter of fact, this might even be a week that I consider doing like 3 cash lineups and kind of, some of them will have the same players in all of them, but kind of mix and match in those last few spots just to kind of hedge a little bit. A cash is already a hedge off of a GPP, but you can hedge even more by having multiple cash lineups, especially if they're built around the same core. So let's get going. By the way, this is the rough draft of the Rosetta Stone, right? You notice there's no ownership on here. That will be updated by 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's 2 hours before kick, Lord's time zone. Maybe earlier, but at least by 9, right? And really, let's be honest, the only reason you need ownership is for GPPs. When it comes to cash, you shouldn't give a fuck about ownership. Matter of fact, I would say you probably want to play more highly owned guys there just so, if that guy goes off, you're pretty much fucked at cash, right? So a strategy you can do is just play that guy and kind of box him out from sinking your ship, okay? So because of that, the ownership will be out in the morning, but let's face it, the ownership game at college football is not near as important. With a 13-game slate on DraftKings, there's plenty of choices. There's a lot of ways to get different. We don't really see dupes that much. And the guys that are going to be very, very chalky, you'll know at least 2 hours before kickoff, and you'll know to kind of pivot off of those guys if you want to, right? I don't think eating chalk at college football is anywhere close to the sin of eating chalk at golf. Right? Okay, so let's get going. This Auburn-Ole Miss game, I really want to believe in this game. I really want this game to shoot out. It's only a game that I would target in GPPs. I don't want any part of these cash plays. As you can see, I literally have everybody marked on GPP. And then furthermore, I didn't even mark anybody as high upside because A, I'm not convinced that Auburn has a sophisticated enough offense to actually push Ole Miss. And then Ole Miss, as good as their offense is, tends to spread the wealth. I mean, of course, you got like Evans and Junkins. They're amazing. But we're talking like legit, what are we talking here? On average this season, 16 to 17 touches. That's really hard to pay to smash a $6,800 or $6,900 salary, right? So because of that, I don't love it. He averages 17 touches a game. He averages 14 touches a game. Yes, there's been some injuries in there. And then even if they're receivers, they don't do it. But I do get it. If you want to run a Jackson Dart stack, maybe you mix in one of the running backs, one of the pass catchers, run it back with Tank Bigsby or one of the punt receivers from Auburn. I get it. I really do. I feel like this game is sneaky shootout. Problem is, who the fuck are the pieces? That's the problem, brother. And I don't know the answer. No one knows the answer to that game. Right? It's, this is the problem with college football is very, very rarely do we get usage that's focused on just a few players. By the way, I always use these words, and I take for granted that not all of you are fucking seasoned veterans like me. Usage is just how much they're getting used in the game, right? Like that could be how often they're on the field, how often they're running routes, how often they're catching the ball, being targeted, receptions, yards, all of that is usage, right? And a lot of these college teams, they have so many players that are all relatively the same that they put 6, 7, 8 of them in a rotation out there, and so it's hard for college players to get high usage. That's why when we're targeting for cash, we really want to get those guys with the highest usage, because even if they don't have a particularly efficient game, they can overcome that with just a really high usage rate, right? They're going to get more carries or more passes thrown to them or more goal line carries. That usage almost always directly correlates to more points. Okay. I forget that like we have a community of almost 300 here. Not everybody is at the same, level of doing this at DFS. It really just comes down to experience. So I never want to intimidate you by using these words and, saying stuff that you just that I presume you should know when, no one's ever told you. So I get it. Sorry about that. All right. This game, notice that I have the weird color here, the magenta, I think it is. And what that means is I usually do that on a player. The big player right here is Dillon Gabriel. Is he going to be active? I haven't heard that he's going to be out yet, which makes me think he's going to play. I am an OU fan. I put the hat on, but it's not in here. If Dillon Gabriel plays, OU will probably be able to score 35 points tomorrow. Kansas doesn't have a great defense. When Dillon Gabriel has played, OU's offense has, at least had a pulse. They do have better players than Kansas. OU's defense has been horrific. So if Dillon Gabriel plays, I feel like this is a very, very, very good game to target. Furthermore, this Devin Neal, if you don't know, Highshaw for Kansas is out, and it seems as though Devin Neal has kind of taken over the bell cow back. And at 5,700 for a team total of 27, that's not a bad guy to have. I think I'm a little reluctant to play him in cash, but man, I think he's a great run back in a GPP, or you could just play him as a naked piece if you want some action from this game. Only thing you got to worry about is if OU actually plays good. They do have superior players to Kansas. Does he kind of get game scripted out being a running back on a team that's an underdog, right? All right, ISU, that's Iowa State and Texas right here. You know, Xavier Hutchinson's probably the safest person on this slate for just straight volume usage. But, man, you got to wonder, ISU's so bad and Texas has looked so good. Can't Texas just say, we're not going to let Hutchinson beat us? That would be my biggest worry. I do still think he's high upside just because of his talent and the large usage he gets. But, man, I'm kind of nervous to play him at cash because all my cash builds that I've been putting together for tomorrow have started with I'm going to definitely put 3 running backs in. I'm definitely going to put 2 quarterbacks in, and then I'm going to punt at 3 receivers. That's what I'm comfortable with all my builds. You know, I just want to pay up and get that certainty that you get from higher level running backs and from good quarterbacks, right? If all 5 of those guys do well, I only need 1, maybe 2 of my punt wide receivers to do well, and it's going to be a very good day in cash, right? So that's kind of what I'm doing. Worked out for me well last week playing the 3 punt receivers, even though one of them only did anything. We still got there. I still got there because all my big pieces got there, which is what I was banking on. So I'm probably going to roll that strategy out there again. Speaking of which, Texas, I think Quinn Ewers is a really good GPP play. He's just due for one of those big 5-touchdown, 300-yard games. But fuck if that guy doesn't miss some wide-open mother-father receivers. But I will say all of his pairing options are all very, very, very affordable prices. Xavier Worthy is a superior talent to that price tag of $5,700. Whittingham, Ewers has shown that he likes to throw to. And as you saw last week, Jadavion Sanders is on a fucking heater. That guy's a freshman. He's a big old motherfather that can get the ball in the end zone. But we all know Texas is built around Bijan Robinson. And I told you last week, go all in on Bijan. I think he got us, 33, 35 points, something like that. Easiest play of the week. And so what I would tell you this week with Bijan is he is probably the best player on the slate, maybe him or Bryce Young. However, I worry about Texas kind of getting out ahead early. I've also noticed that Texas seems like they kind of want to keep Bijan fresh, and so they've been rotating Roschon Johnson in more. So I'm very reluctant to play Bijan in my cash lineup. Matter of fact, I'm not reluctant. I'm just not going to fucking do it. It's pretty simple. But I will tell you, I think you're a fool to not at least have him considered in your GPPs. And if you're doing more than 20 lineups, I think you have to toss some Bijan in there. He has a 40-point upside. And if he breaks the slate, then you're going to be an idiot for not having him. But overall, I don't love this game. A 49-point total in college is hot garbage. All right, Miami, they fucking suck, but I do got to tell you about 2 guys in particular. I would stay away from Van Dyke. Yes, I put him on there. I put almost every quarterback on there because if you want to play some weird game stacks, I always put them on there, right? But like you can kind of tell when I don't highlight a fucking game, I'm basically telling you stay the fuck away from that game. Maybe one piece of that game. But like you don't want to be running a Van Dyke stack versus a Grant Wells stack. You just don't want to do that. Just fucking send me $20 and do that instead of like wasting it on a GPP lineup. So yes, I put them on there in case you want to do some crazy wild game stack. That is the quarterback to play, but that's the only reason I put him on there. Or if you get 5,000 left for your super flex and you want to put a quarterback there, well, I guess Van Dyke gets there, right? But I think he sucks. I will tell you this, Harry, the 2 guys from Miami that really stick out to me is the running back. Parrish Jr. has really seemed to take over that running back role at 4,800. I think he is cash viable, but I told you I'm spending up at running back, so he kind of got left on the cutting room floor, although I do think it makes sense to get him in there. I think he is safe for 18 to 20 touches, and if they have a 27-point total, he's getting 18 to 20 touches. You got to figure he probably has a 10-point floor and a 25-point ceiling, which is kind of the nuts at 4,800, right? So I think you got to consider him. If you want your one punt this week, this Brashard Smith is running something. I think he ran 98% of the routes last week for Miami at the stone cold minimum of 3,000. You put that guy in your lineup. I mean, as we've seen, he gets you 5 catches for 55 yards. You're dancing naked in the streets, right? Doesn't need a lot. I don't love playing him in cash, but I'm saying he is a very viable punt if you want to just punt one of your positions in your cash lineup. By the way, Punt just means a gamble, not like you're giving up on the spot, just a gamble, because it's pretty ballsy to play a $3,000 guy that's only averaging 4 targets a game. But I will say those targets have been trending upwards, brother. All right, Virginia Tech, don't play them. There you go. That's simple. Just don't fucking play them. They got a 20-point total. Their offense is anemic. They don't have any usage monsters. Fuck them. Fuck them. Even Malachi Thompson, who gets 20 touches a game, is $6,000. If you want to spend $6,000 on a receiver, I'll go give you 5 options that are better than that guy. Don't play him. Don't play him. Minnesota, Illinois, it's just these fucking Big Ten games, man. They're just such a dread. They're slow-paced. They run the ball a lot. I don't know what's going on. Muhammad Ibrahim, he is, he's just not the usage monster I want him to be, but damn if he's not efficient. He's had 35, 40-point games so far this year. You can play him, but at a 23-point total, what's his upside? Same thing with Chase Brown. Dude's averaging 27 touches a game. That is insane. Their whole offense is built around him. He's a really good player. But fuck, they got a 16.5-point total, man. It just scares me. It scares me. These teams are so bad offensively. I guess if you need another punt, you can go look at Span Ford. Daniel Jackson's like their number 1 receiver, but who wants the number 1 receiver for a team that's going to score 23 points? So to me, if I'm getting in this game, I'm only looking at the running backs. I think I'll probably play some Chase Brown and GPP, but man, I just can't put him in my cash lineup. I'll tell you why in a minute when I get to the Syracuse game, right? Like right here, we got another guy, Sean Tucker, who's $7,300. So I find $100 more. I get a guy that touches the ball almost the exact same amount of times. He has a team total that's 6 points higher, and he's at home, and they're favored. Like, that just checks a lot more boxes for what I want, right? Yes, they may be the same player, but one's in a better script and is at home, where the other one is probably going to be in a worse script, and even though he's at home, I think he's playing a team that has tremendous defense in Minnesota. That's my take. I don't think if you play Chase Brown, I'm not going to shit on you. I think he's a good option. If he gets 27 touches, what's his floor? 12 points probably. That's a pretty safe floor, right? Probably has 30-point upside. I don't know. I don't know if you have 30-point upside with a 16-point total, but whatever. Okay, Penn State, fuck them. They got a 22-point total. One of their receivers is likely limited. Who is it? Landau Smith, I believe. Washington and Tinsley, you think you would see an uptick in usage for them, but man, I just don't trust them. Michigan has a good defense. Penn State's players are all priced very, very, actually not very fairly, too high to be honest with you. So I'm just not playing them. Don't play Penn State, guys. Michigan coming back. Schoonmaker at wide receiver can be your punt, but I think the only real player you should be considering here is Blake Corum. If you think Michigan's going to control this game or they're going to get pushed by Penn State, I think Corum has GPP winning upside, so he's definitely a high upside player you need to be considering. This one I just have a sneaking suspicion, man. This Bama-Tennessee game, I think almost all of my GPP lineups are going to be built off of like these 2 games right here, and then I'm going to supplement pieces from this game 8 and game 12, if that makes sense, right? I just really like these games. These 4 games in particular are my 4 favorites. Game 7, game 8, game 9, and we'll get to game 12 here in a minute. Why do I like this Bama game? Well, first of all, this is all assuming Bryce Young plays, right? We got to assume. I need to know Bryce Young's playing. I would never play Bryce Young in cash, right? Because if I know anything about these shoulder injuries from my boy Sam Bradford back in the day, it is very, very easy to re-aggravate this injury when you try to come back too early. And let's face it, Bryce Young's been out for 2 weeks? He's coming back too early. At the same time, you'd be a fool not to acknowledge that he has 40-point upside tomorrow. The whole offense is built around him. He is amazing. He is efficient. He is smart. They are aggressive. They have a great offense. They have a 36-point team total. They're going to be playing a team that can push them. He checks every box you would want to see. Other than he is very unstackable. Like, I did this on purpose. Not a single Bama receiver on here because I'm so tired of playing the fucking Russian roulette of who is going to be the Bama receiver, and you'll never guess right. And maybe the answer is Bryce Young just has so many damn targets, and he's gonna pass the distribution around so equally that nobody gets there. So maybe the real answer is you play a naked Bryce Young, or you play Bryce Young and stack him with Jamar Gibbs. And you say, yeah, but one's a quarterback, one's a running back. Yeah, but if Bryce Young gets 4 touchdowns, Gibbs catches one of those and runs in another 2, you'll still get there. You could still win a GPP with that. So if I play Bryce Young, I'm only stacking him with Gibbs. Which on that note, I think Gibbs, and I hate to say this because I've been slow playing the shit out of this guy all year. I think he is my favorite play on the slate. I think he's the guy you have to have, right? Because now that Bama isn't blowing teams out, it seemed like it was going to be kind of a timeshare between Gibbs and Jason McClellan. But as their games have gotten tougher, they have leaned way more on Gibbs. He's getting more touches, more critical touches, and now they're even passing the ball to him. And if he's going to continue to get these 4 targets a game, that gives him 4 free points right there, not to mention probably 30 yards receiving. That's a 7-point floor. He almost always finds the end zone. He's their goal line back, and he's going to get 20 carries a game. I mean, I just don't see any way he doesn't get to 20 points tomorrow. I don't see it. And plus, Bama's pass blocking hasn't been great, but their run blocking has been pretty good. So I think Jahmyr Gibbs is like the one guy that you got to find a way to get him in your cash lineup. If we're presuming that he's going to continue to have this role. Now, if I see that Milroe's out, or Milroe's in because Bryce Young's out, maybe that changes my mind a little bit. But assuming Bryce Young plays, I really like Jahmyr Gibbs. I think Bryce Young will open it up where Gibbs will just tear Tennessee apart. So if Bama's going to score 35, 38, 42 points, they're going to go ape shit tomorrow. Well, that's great news because I think Tennessee has a fucking elite offense, and I think that they can push them and they can run it back. If you don't know, I've been a big fan of the hooker all year. I love hookers, okay? And Hendon Hooker has been tearing it up this year. Every time I play him at cash, he gets me there. Love the guy. Even when he sucks, like when he's terrible, he still got me like 25 points, right? All you got to do is really worry about Jabari Small. He's a kind of a vulture whore. But, I mean, I'm just not going to pay $6,600 for a guy that doesn't even get 15 touches a game. Not going to do it, Bob. Only problem with Hendon Hooker, I would not stack him with probably 2 receivers. Hendon Hooker's a guy that usually gets there with 1 receiver and then does a lot with his legs. So go pick your favorite receiver. Who's the right answer? I don't know. I really don't. Tillman's coming back off injury. Hyatt had kind of emerged as the guy, and Brew McCoy has just been getting better and better and better every week. So good luck trying to decipher that. But I will tell you, to try to fade this game tomorrow, I just think this is one of the 4 games that could be the slate breaker tomorrow. So because of that, I'm going to have my GPPs built around 4 games, and this is going to be one of them. Game number 8 is another game that I absolutely love. This Arkansas BYU game. Of course, we got a high total, which is always the first thing we want to see. We have a competitive total, only a 1.5 point spread. We love to see. And then we have usage. Okay, KJ Jefferson is fucking criminally underpriced. 6,400 in this game environment. He probably is like the highest per dollar projected guy on this slate. So if you want to play him at cash, definitely makes sense. Because, I mean, that's our goal, right? To just try to get 3x from all of our players in our lineup, and you'll almost always cash, right? Unless it's one of those weird weeks where everybody goes nuke. So KJ Jefferson, 3x 6,400, that's only what, 19.2 points? I mean, like, I would say he gets that number legit 75 to 80% of the time. So if 80% of the time you're going to have a guy that gets you 3x, I mean, you almost got to play him at cash. My rough drafts, he was not in my cash lineup. He said, you just started to play him in cash. No, I said, you can play him in cash. I think I'm going with Raheem Sanders in cash. I thought that when some of their other running backs got back that he was going to be the guy that was going to kind of get some of his work taken away, but he hasn't. And his prices remain the same. He's averaging 23 touches a game, and it has not declined with those other guys returning. He has a nose for the end zone. Arkansas likes to run the ball. They have a 34-point team total. The game is going to be competitive. That's everything I want in a running back. So Raheem Sanders, I think, is a nuts play tomorrow at 6,500. He should be every bit of 7,800. So we'll just take the discount. If you want to stack Jefferson, it's a lot like Bryce Young. I guess you stack him with Hazelwood, who seems to be a little beat up. You can go with Matt Landers if you want to punt. But honestly, maybe the real answer is KJ Jefferson runs so much, maybe you just run out a naked Jefferson. Or Jefferson and Sanders. That might be a good one too, right? I love BYU. Jaron Hall finally had a bad game. I think he was a little banged up. The BYU running backs, probably stay away from them. They seem to be in kind of a timeshare. But Puka Nacua, man, I played that guy once this year, and he had me 22 points in the first quarter and got hurt. So I was like, man, he was on pace for an 88-point game. And then Gunnar Romney. Those guys run most of the routes, and they're very fairly priced with a team total of 33, a good quarterback that can throw them the ball. I think Puka Nacua is very, very live in cash. And I think Romney and Nacua are very, very live in a GPP, especially if you're running it back with Sanders or Jefferson or both. So love this game. Love both these games. Because, I mean, I'm telling you, man, the key is you want to find a game where it shoots out and you have 5 or 6 pieces of that game and then just go nail your other 2 or 3 peripheral pieces, and that's how you win a GPP, I'm telling you. And by the way, the big GPP this week looks pretty good. I hope you watched my college football show over on the YouTubes. All right, Oklahoma State, TCU. As I told you, this is one of the 4 games I absolutely love. You know how I feel about Oklahoma State. I keep telling you this every week. Every week I say play Spencer Sanders at cash, and what happens? The motherfucker gets 40 points every time. You're welcome. Spencer Sanders has turned into a level of efficiency that we haven't seen from him in his time in Stillwater. That's where OSU's at. And he has just been so good. My only concern here is that it did seem like last week he was getting all of the touchdowns, and Dominic Richardson kind of was getting vultured a lot. So maybe that water finds its balance this time, and now this is Richardson's game, and Spencer Sanders doesn't get those rushing touchdowns or those passing touchdowns, right? Maybe it's Richardson having 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. So I think the answer here is you need to have access to both of them if you're going to be playing GPPs. I think they're both just too high upside to not play them. I don't think I would play them together, but I think I would definitely want to have them in some different lineups. The other thing with Spencer is it looks like Braden Johnson's going to be back. He was out with a concussion. Definitely his number 1 receiver, but at 6,800, he's priced, honestly, more than fairly. Priced poorly, I would even say. You got Jaden Bray back, who's catching passes now. You still got Bryson Green, Brennan Presley, who was kind of like the perceived number 1 heading into the year. So it's really, really hard to stack Sanders. If I'm going Sanders, I'm only stacking him with 1 receiver. I'm never going to stack Sanders with 2 receivers. I just don't think he has the kind of game that gets 2 receivers there. And even if he did have the kind of game where he gets 2 receivers there, what the fuck is the chance you're going to pick those 2 receivers right? Yeah, not very likely, brother. On the flip side of this, you got TCU at home, which we watched them drop a 50 burger on OU. Then they go to Kansas and drop a 40 burger. I mean, this TCU offense is legit. Their defense isn't particularly good. They play fast as shit. You look at those total plays, you may think that ain't very fast, but you got to remember they're always blowing people out, so they're just fucking kneeing on the ball in the second half every game. Both these teams are undefeated. Max Duggan, if you haven't watched, the guy fucking runs like mother father Forrest Gump, fastest fucking white boy I've ever seen in my life. He gets it done in the air. They play fast. He can bail you out with his legs. Max Duggan is he is very cash viable. He's GPP viable. He's whatever the fuck you're playing viable. Okay. Quentin Johnson finally emerged for the 40-point game we've been waiting on. Of course, it happened the first week I didn't play the motherfather. And so he has emerged as their number 1 receiver. If the Savion Williams runs a lot of routes, if you want to punt to pair with Max Duggan, and Darius Davis is kind of their clear number 2. Kendre Miller, he seems to just find the end zone a lot. He's only getting 15 touches a game, but man, does he make them count. It's 6,200. I can probably find better places to go in cash, but in a GPP, I think Kendre Miller makes sense, especially if you want to run it back from your OSU stack and get a little different. NC State, don't fucking play him. There you go. Don't play anybody from NC State. Yes, I put people on here in case you want to get really weird. I just put them on here so you can have some options. If you think to yourself, hey, I want to play a really weird NC State stack, well, there's your guys, okay? That's why I put them on here. If you're like, well, if you don't want me to play him, don't put them on there. No, I mean, I'm telling you, man, I put them on there just in case. Like, I could get why somebody would want to play that in a completely abstract world, right? It's like playing the $6,200 golfer. Like, you shouldn't play him, but like, I get why somebody would want to. So if you're going to play a $6,200 golfer, here's the one to play, right? That's what I'm doing. I'm not telling you to play him. I'm just saying if you're going to play somebody like that, here is the best option. Okay. Syracuse, they fucking suck, except for Sean Tucker. I already referenced him earlier. You just got to love those 25.6 touches a game. He's just a bell cow. He gets the ball done every way. He's going to be in a favorable script. He's going to be at home. They just keep slamming him into a brick wall. I will say NC State does have a slightly concerning defense, but man, Tucker just seems to have a really, really good, safe floor. And because of that, it's hard to not put him at cash. 7,300 for a bell cow seems pretty good for a guy that's going to be at home. He gets you 1 touchdown, 100 yards. You're gonna be fine, right? Because the bonus, the touchdown, and the yards, you're already going to be at 20 points. You're already going to be right at 3x. He gets 4 catches a game, so factor in another 6-7 points there with 4 catches for 30 yards. It just seems very, very safe. He gets there, very, very safe. This Maryland IU game, I think it's sneaky. Because Maryland, I think we're still kind of doing like we do with Tom Brady. We keep living off last year. Like we want to hold on to what they were last year. And Maryland just so far this year hasn't been that team. Tagovailoa is averaging almost 300 yards a game, so he's still doing it, but he's not running much with his legs. He doesn't have stackable wide receivers because he fucking never throws to anybody more than 6 times a game. And then the running backs, Hemby and Littleton, seem to be getting more and more action. But the one thing I'll say is IU has shown another team from the past who used to have a very high-functioning offense that they can be. And if they can start to shoot out and push Maryland, maybe Maryland gets back to their old chunking and praying kind of offense. And then in that case, this could be a sneaky shootout game. If I'm playing IU, I think that Camper, I mean, you just can't ignore 14 targets a game, man. I don't know why people won't guard this guy. So that Camper's the one part of this game, but I could see a game stack here. I'm probably not going to do it, but it's just because I love these other 4 games so much more, right? Game 7, Game 8, Game 9, and now Game 12. This Ohio team, this is dangerous. A lot of people, I'm hoping that this is going to be the sentiment in the community. I ain't playing no fucking Ohio guy. Okay, well, if Ohio were playing Alabama, that would probably be good logical sense, but Ohio's playing fucking Western Michigan. They're playing somebody that is worse than them. So Ohio is on the road, and they're favored. And if you don't know, it's in the Maction, and it's called the Maction because they have some motherfather shootouts over there. This Curtis Work has always been a slapdick, but somehow his senior year has turned into a fucking animal. He has so many huge games. Just go look at his little player detail thing on DraftKings. You're getting that guy for 6,200. You're like, yeah, but he plays for Ohio. It's Ohio versus Western Michigan. It's not the same thing. Okay, so Curtis Work, I think I don't see a way he's not going to end up in one of my cash lineups. Same thing, his receiver here, the Sam Wiggles, Wiggles. He is definitely their number 1 receiver, running almost all their routes. His targets are going up every game, and at 5,000, that's a borderline punt, right? Normally my punts I consider in the 4,000s, 3 and 4,000s. But he works in a lot of my builds, so I think I'm going to run a stack in my cash lineup, which I don't love. But fuck, a 30-point team total against one of the worst defenses out there in Western Michigan, let's go. If you're going to run a stack in this game, you could run Rourke, Wislow, Bostic, run it back with Crooms. He's definitely the number 1 receiver there at Western Michigan, almost 10 targets a game. I don't know if I'd play Jack Slapdick. Or what's his name? Yeah, Jack Slapdick. But you could. Someone from Western Michigan's got to get it done if Ohio's really going to get pushed, right? So that's what I'm talking about. Oh, by the way, this Work also rushes 5 times a game. Averages, I think, around 20 or 30 yards a game. So there's another just like 3 or 4 bonus points he'll probably get you with his legs, right? Plus, he might run a touchdown, and I think he has 2 rushing touchdowns this year. So this game, I just feel like you need to have some access to it, and I'm praying that people ignore it because it's not one of the Power 5 schools. I don't know. I don't know if that's a real thing. And the last game for DraftKings, that is Wisconsin versus Michigan State. I'm telling you right now, only part of this game I would play is Braylon Allen, and I'm only playing him in GPPs. The guy is a true star. He has great ability. If Wisconsin would ever use him correctly, I am telling you he has a 200-yard game with 3 touchdown potential. He will hit one of those games this year, and it will probably break the slate when he does at 8,200. So do you want to miss out on that? That's what you got to ask yourself. I think in a GPP, you got to be rotating him in there. You got to. It's just a FOMO thing. It's like him and Bijan. They just have too much fucking upside to just completely exclude them from your player pool if you're doing, 20, 30, 50, 100 lineups, right? All right, over to FanDuel. There's 6 games over there. The 2 quarterbacks from LSU and Florida are really interesting. Don't love that game, though. But the quarterbacks could both get there with their legs and throwing it to all the slapdicks. This Kentucky-Mississippi State game, these teams both actually have really good defenses, but Chris Rodriguez has shown since he's got back from, the suspension or the injury? I can't remember. He has had some real upside, so I think you got to be open to him in that game, although being at home and being an underdog isn't the best. Notre Dame has a pretty big team total, but they're just running the shit out of the ball. They rotate 3 running backs. I don't know how you play one of them and feel good about it. Clemson, 28-point total versus FSU. Once again, if I had to play somebody, I'd probably play Shipley, run it back with Travis, but this just isn't a game I want to attack. I'd rather go play these last 2 games here. North Carolina, big, huge team total, 37, playing a team that is going to push them. Both the quarterbacks, May's probably a little overpriced, but when you look at his upside versus everybody else, he's very appealing. In cash, don't even think about May. You can't eat $12,000 at cash over there. Very stackable, though. Does like to throw to downs a lot. If you want to run it back with Duke and then Calhoun, that makes sense also. USC, I got to imagine Caleb Williams at 10,300 is the definition of a cash play. He's almost a shoo-in for 20 points. The running back Die is a usage monster over there. He is on the field most of the time. It looks like he's only getting 17 touches a game, but a lot of that's because they've been blowing teams out and it hasn't been competitive in the fourth quarter. And then you've always got Jordan Addison and you've got Mario Williams if you want to stack with Caleb. I think Utah, Cam Rising is very appealing. And then you run it back with maybe 1 or 2 of his pass catchers. Valey would probably be the best one. So there you go. Tomorrow I actually really like the DraftKings, the big $20 tomorrow that they're doing. 50,000 up top, but it's not about 50,000 up top. They always have 50,000 up top. It's that it's only 20% of the entire prize pool. I really like that, so I'm going to be getting in there. I'm really just happy they made a good contest in the big one, so I'll be splashing around in that. I'll be playing my cash lineup. I might fuck around and do 2 or 3 cash lineups because I've made 2 or 3 builds where I'm like, ooh, I like that. Ooh, I like that. And I keep going back to this Caleb Smith. I keep landing on Caleb Smith. From Virginia Tech is one of my cash options, and then that Miami Brashard Smith as some punt options. And I don't really know if I want those guys, but whenever you're playing 2 $8,000 quarterbacks and 3 $7,000 running backs, at some point you got to punt somewhere, right? So I'm trying to find that right blend. I'm really warming up to Puka Nacua. Maybe I need to just double stack Jefferson and Sanders in my cash lineup. I don't love that though. So still fucking around with it. If you have questions, let me know. Once again, look at me. Not new guy. Final ownership will be out in the morning. This is the Rosetta Stone. He's going to post it tonight, and you'll be able to see it. And then you can start making your lineups. This tells you everything you know. Start fucking around with your cash lineup. I just realized Jabari Small is not highlighted for some reason. I would put him as a GPP play. Then in the morning there will be updated ownership, right? I might even make a video if some new thoughts or some news breaks or something, right? Hey, and don't forget that my the editor, the saint that he is, went and edited and color coded these all of these, so you can kind of get like, oh shit, this Heath guy's getting 55 plays a game. That's a lot more than 26, and it's color coded, right? So that gives you an idea of who's playing a lot relative to everybody else at their position, right? Or who's getting a lot of targets, right? Like, oh, he's Noah Hutchinson's getting 9.5 a game. Is that a lot? Well, look how dark the fucking green is. Yes, it's a lot. So there you go, man. If you have any questions, just send me a DM. I'm always here for you guys. A lot of questions. I hope we keep killing it at Cash Game. It would be really cool if we took down the big GPP tomorrow, you motherfather. All right, man. I got to go record. Me and John got to record the week-long thing for NFL. Later, motherfathers.